talking the issues and taking the hit. Here they are, the two crazy guys.
And we are back. Welcome back to all of our listeners. And so, we talked before. All right, so we talked a little bit before about the problem. What is the solution?
The solution. Well, we kind of touched on it a little bit, or, I mentioned that states need to protect their own damn borders.
Agree.
And they're so busy, the federal government's always like, well, and all the bloggers, we need to stop turning to the federal government for a solution to every problem we have. Well, isn't that what the states are doing? It's like, oh, we have all these people coming in and they're doing all this and that. And it's like, well, then secure your damn border. I mean, it's not illegal or unconstitutional to call up a militia like the Minutemen used to be.
Exactly.
But I guess they don't like seeing their power slip away. But we have National Guard at our disposal. And it's like, if the feds can't do it, then, it's the old adage, lead, follower, get out of the way. And so I think the Border Patrol, at least in Arizona, I would like to see them on the border. If they're not within line of sight of that border, then they're not seeing the crime be committed.
Right.
So now once you don't see it, now everything's alleged. Well, if you're alleged illegal immigrant and you're in America, we have to assume you're an American. And as much as I hate that, living on the border and seeing how it's abused, that's the way it is. And I kind of like it that way. So if we accept the fact that if they sneak across and no one sees them, then it's no longer an immigration issue. It's a legal issue. If they started a fire, then you arrest them for that. If they're raping, the coyotes are raping all these women. It's not an illegal alien being raped by a coyote. It's a woman being raped by a guy. Arrest the dude and take care of it.
Right.
And then force them to say, hey, wait a minute, I'm not a U.S. citizen. You can't do that to me. It's like, good, then get the hell out of here. But the Border Patrol only has jurisdiction at the border. And the sheriffs would need to step up.
Right.
And yes, I know they're underfunded. But
yes.
I think if it, like in our county, if the sheriff came to us like Daniels and said, we really want to do this. It's a good plan. And we want to be backed up with the resources of the Border Patrol, but we have the jurisdiction. Help us raise some funds or get our budget increased, or maybe stop giving so much money to stupid crap. Then the sheriffs could have more manpower to deal with the internal issues outside, between, where we live and the border.
Right.
Because, they put those border checkpoints. Let's say that these border checkpoints really sealed the border, that imaginary 50-mile barrier, and they trapped everyone in. Then haven't they, in a sense, created a hostage situation for the city of Sierra Vista? Because they came in, but they can't get out, so now they're stuck here. So it's almost like a bank robbery. They're stuck in the building, and they can't get out. So I don't like the border checkpoints. It's unconstitutional. I don't like it. I'm polite to them because they're doing their job, and they wear badges and carry guns. So I'm always polite to people with badges and guns.
Sure.
It's just my policy.
That's probably a wise thing.
Yeah, keeps me out of trouble that way. But so right. I would like to see them say, we have enough eyeballs to watch the border. We have enough manpower to back them up if somebody tries to run it. And then we can, if we keep them on their side, then they're no longer an illegal immigrant and we're not racist. It's just like, hey, that's your side, this is mine.
Right.
And then once they get in, then treat it like a criminal violation. Nobody asks me when they pull me over and I run a stop sign if I'm a U.S. citizen. They write me a damn ticket for running a red light or whatever, causing a wreck, robbing a Circle K. Nobody I know that's ever been, arrested for anything got asked if they were a U.S. citizen. They're just arrested.
That's right.
Figure it out in court. So if we can separate the BS and the hype from what are the facts. It's like once they're in there, we have to consider them U.S. citizens and arrest them as a U.S. citizen.
Exactly.
You know,
And then let
and
the courts deal with it.
yeah, and then they could prove to us, no, I'm not a U.S. citizen. I overstayed my visa. Please send me home so I don't go to prison. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
you know, we got an out for you. It's called a bus. Okay,
Yeah.
get the hell out of here.
Don't come back.
But you know,
The
my
problem
dad,
is that's the other problem is they continue to come back though.
yeah, and I think we're smart enough in today's day and age where they could, do fingerprints and if somebody gets arrested, I don't have a problem with they're taking their blood and doing a fingerprint and a biometric print somewhere in a database.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to sign up for it, but if I get arrested, I don't really have a choice.
Right.
So we could start honing into on the process. But my dad used to be a rancher in Wilcox and Safford and stuff when he was a young boy. And he said back in the day, way back, they would ranch with the Mexican ranchers all the time. And the Mexican caballeros would come in with their cattle, go to an auction, do the rodeo thing, have a great time. And he said at the end of the day, they went home. And he goes, and we would go into Mexico and buy cattle and do stuff. And at the end of the day, we would come home. But he said they don't have a home to go to. And maybe we should have invaded Mexico and overthrown their corrupt government and gave their people a new government and give them their land back, because I think they would want to go home if they had a home to go to.
Well, but then that brings the question, okay, now you've done that to Mexico, then you got to do it to Nicaragua, then you got to do it to Honduras, then you got to do it, and it just, where does it end?
Far away. It's just, I didn't like the idea that we flew all the way to Iraq to overthrow that dictator. When Mexico, I love the Mexican people. I love their country. It's beautiful.
Yes.
It's closer. If we're going to spend $2 trillion, let's go give it to the Mexicans and fix their build them schools and highways and overthrow their corrupt families and go, here you have a democracy or a republic or whatever you want to call it. Just give them the Constitution. It's not copyright. Go here. Follow that. Do that for a few years and
it's
we'll
worked pretty well for us. It's worked real well for us. It ought to work pretty well for you. And that's funny too, because it's funny that you say that, because there have been, look, we are a representative constitutional republic. It was an experimental government, still is an experiment today, and it has turned out to be so awesome. It has made us the most phenomenal country in the world. And there have been so many other countries that have tried to copy that, have tried to duplicate that, but they still have yet to make it work. And I mean, there are so many countries call themselves a republic. Look at that. The Democratic Republic people, what is it?
China.
Korea.
Russia,
well, and then you have the Korea, North Korea, Democratic People's Republic. Korea. Yeah. All of these places, República de Panama, the Panama Republic, they've all tried it. And every one of them are communist dictatorships.
Well, I think I think it's marketing maybe or something, because, even Russia, was the USSR, and the R was for Republic, wasn't it? The United States Satellite States of, no, it was Russia. But they had called themselves a republic at one time. Yeah. And so it's like, yeah, but you're not representative. You didn't do what we did. Georgia, near Russia has pulled it off.
For those of you watching this on the YouTube feed, that is the reason right there why it has worked.
That's right.
It is the Constitution of the United States of America. That is the reason we have this law. And now we have all these, and that's what gets me about these Democrats now. They don't even try to hide it anymore. They want to make it a socialist democracy. And there has been no place in the world that it has worked ever.
I'm not ignoring you here. I got my favorite quote, I don't know if you can see that, but
democracy while it lasts. Yeah.
By John Adams. Democracy while it lasts is more bloody than either autocracy or monarchy. Remember, democracies never last long. It soon wastes, exhausts, and murders itself. There's never been a democracy that did not commit suicide. And that was John Adams. So we were a republic. Everyone knows that, except the media, you know.
And the Democrats.
I'll put that
and
up
Hillary
as
Clinton.
my cheap screenshot, you know, for everybody on the radio or
I
on
love
YouTube.
it.
Yeah. So, and then my other favorite quote is Mad Dog. You know, be polite, be professional, but have a plan to kill everyone you meet. That's my second favorite.
I love that. Yes, absolutely. I love that. That is very cool. You know,
Yeah. We could go on. We could do a quote show because there's so many of them like that one that I just.
My favorite of all times is the power under the Constitution will always be in the people. It is entrusted for certain defined purposes and for certain limited periods to representatives of their own choosing, and whenever it is executed contrary to their interest or not agreeable to their wishes, their servants can and undoubtedly will be recalled. George Washington.
Right.
See, what he said there, the power under the Constitution will always be in the people.
Right.
That's, you always, and you'll hear me say this, government has no power.
No.
Government only have the authority that we delegate to them.
Yes, the federal government it was really a compact or a contract with the states, and it's like, here you can run this, you know, big monstrosity, you know, like a corporate headquarters, but we have all the authority as the franchise, you know, franchise holders. But it's really us, the people, I guess you could call it the shareholders, that have all the authority.
Well,
and
the
it
other
says
part,
it so many times.
The other part of that quote is, you know, it is entrusted to a certain it is entrusted for certain defined purposes. In other words, do your damn job, Congress.
Yeah, these things.
And for certain limited period, see, I agree with term limits.
Yeah.
Okay. To representatives of their own choosing. You and I choose our representatives. Okay. Right. And whenever it is executed contrary to their interest, whenever they start doing things that is contrary to your and my interest, we the people, their servants can and undoubtedly will be recalled. See, and that's the whole thing. You have, you know, Cory Booker, you have Nancy Pelosi, you have Chuck Schumer. All these guys are out there running amok because nobody keeps them in check. Have we forgotten about our recall process?
You know, and it's people don't like, you know, I'm a fan of the 10th Amendment Center on YouTube and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And people don't realize that we have so much power in you know, to nullify things. And actually, even with the amendment for prohibition, eventually it just became so unenforceable because these judges couldn't do like they do nowadays. You know, they had to let you know, jurors think for themselves. And the jury would go, yep, that's Bob Still. I know Bob. I've helped to build that still. Not guilty. You know, and it didn't matter about the preponderance of evidence. It was just like, yeah, we hear what you're saying, not guilty. And it made it so hard to enforce that they finally repealed it.
Yeah.
And we can do that through nullification today. We still have that power with us.
Exactly.
Grand juries is a power that we the people hold. You know, they say, well, we're going to call them up before a grand jury. We have the legal right to call our congressmen and judges before a grand jury of our making. And it's just as serious a charges as any grand jury there is.
Absolutely.
We don't know these things because we get, you know, cluttered up with confusing BS and stuff. And so like that quote you just read, it says, you know, should and ought to be, you know, taken care of basically through the vote. But that's a leap of you know, being vigilant there. You know,
right.
We get our news from the media, and
right.
Obviously they're selling us, you know, snake oil.
Right. Yeah, being spoon-fed. And the thing is, our education system is teaching the kids that the media, the news media, is who we need to listen to, and they're brainwashing. Listen, the producer is telling me we got to take a break.
Don't argue with the producer.
We'll hold that thought, and we'll be right back right after this. So don't go away.
Thanks for tuning in. Catch them next time as they dig into the issues. The two crazy guys. Log on to the website at www.contraradionetwork.com.